Have you ever caught your reflection in a window and almost not recognize yourself? You know it's you, but it's a much more tired, quieter version of the woman that you remember. And for just a second, you wonder where that happier, lighter version of you went. If you know that feeling, stay with me because this one's for you. Hey, loves, welcome back to the Purfect Sunday Podcast for women who want to grow as people without pretending they don't care how they show up. I'm not an expert. I'm just a woman who's been paying attention and figuring things out along the way. Today, I'm giving you the 7 wellness habits that brought me back, not to fix me, not to optimize me, just to bring me back to actually feeling like myself again. I think that you're going to be surprised by just how small these habits are. But first, let's go over this week's Sunday obsession. So I don't really know why, but for some reason last week, I started hyperfixating on hairbrushes. It's rather random, I know, but for some reason, that's just how my brain works. I couldn't decide which one to get, so I ended up buying a couple. Now, I already have my Mason Pearsons, which I absolutely love. I've been using those hairbrushes since I broke off all my hair about 15 years ago and had to regrow it. But I decided I wanted to try out some new brushes. So I ordered one from Orbi, which is a boar bristle and nylon pin brush. It's a good quality brush and it feels really good. But what really caught my eye with that brush in particular was how pretty it was. And then one of the other brushes that I ordered is, again, a boar bristle brush with nylon pins, but from the brand Berber. It's called the Mermaid Brush. And let me just tell you something. I am in love with this brush. I've always been super, super particular about my head, and I absolutely hate the feeling of anyone touching my hair. But this brush gently detangles, and the boar bristles help distribute the natural oils through your hair, which is really good for your hair's health. And it just keeps it very, very shiny and also helps reduce frizz. But what I love the most is how ultra satisfying and scalp tingling amazing it feels to drag across your scalp. If you are looking for a new brush or you just want a little mini splurge, I 100% recommend the Mermaid Brush from Berber. Okay, before we go in, this one's for the woman who isn't broken. All right, her labs are probably in range. Her life looks fine on paper. She just doesn't feel quite like herself anymore. She looks in the mirror and thinks, I miss the woman that I used to be. That woman doesn't need to be fixed. She needs to find her way back. So as we go through these 7 habits today, please keep that in mind. We're not solving a problem. We're helping you feel like yourself again. All right. I always start my episodes giving my little disclaimer that I am not a therapist or a life coach. Everything in this episode is just what I have observed, learned, and what has worked for me. I hope that it's helpful to you too, but please take what's useful and leave the rest. All right, let's get into it. So to start, I want to tell you about what inspired me to talk about this today. I'll keep this part short because most of today should really just be about what actually is helpful. But this morning, I was looking through photos on my phone and I wanted to compare a picture that I had just taken this morning to one that I took in the exact same spot 1 year ago. And the difference shocked me. But it also made me really, really happy. In the photo from a year ago, I looked tired. I looked puffy. I looked inflamed. And the light was just gone from my eyes. I remember a year ago feeling so uncomfortable in my body. My weight at the time was part of it, but it was also the joint pain, the stomach discomfort, and the chronic exhaustion. At that point in time, I had become a version of myself that I didn't recognize anymore, and I knew something was going to have to change. And now, in the recent photo of myself, the one that I just took this morning, I, again, look like the version of me that I always remembered, although maybe just a slightly older looking version of me. But the weight was down, the puffiness was gone, and most importantly, the light and the confidence was back in my eyes. As I was looking at these photos, I was feeling a lot of gratitude, but also some pride. Gratitude for overcoming some really rough and dark seasons in life and for all the lessons that were very hard learned. And I was proud for not giving up on myself, for continuing to show up and fight for the life that I wanted, even on the days that I was too exhausted or in too much pain to get out of bed. And now that I've come out the other side, I can share what I focused on and still practice today to feel like myself again. And here's the good news. You do not need a big life change. You don't need to move to a new city. You don't need to quit your job. You don't need a sabbatical or a silent retreat or a 6-week course. You need 7 small, repeatable things. And some of these you can start doing today if you want to. You won't notice a huge shift overnight, and that is fine and normal. But if you do these consistently, within a couple of weeks, you will start feeling more like yourself again. So first, let me explain how to think about this, because I think it's what makes this episode different from every other type of wellness habits for women video out there. Most wellness content sells you on becoming someone new, a new body, new energy, the optimized version of you. And sometimes that's not the goal. So I'm not trying to sell you that. In fact, I think that that is actually a trap, because when the goal is a brand new you, you're always chasing something that you haven't reached yet. There's no finish line, just the next thing that you're supposed to fix. And it keeps you focused on everything that you're not instead of what's already there. Sometimes what you're missing isn't a new you, it's the old you, the one who was here before a busy stretch took over, before a hard year wore you down, before you spent so long putting yourself last that you forgot what you actually wanted. She didn't disappear, she just got quiet, but she can be found again. The work isn't to replace yourself with someone better. It's to clear enough space in your life for that person to be able to come back. So when I talk about wellness today, that is what I mean. Not biohacking, not 4 a.m. wake-ups, not cold plunges, and not 14 supplements. Just simple, low-effort, inexpensive habits that help you feel like yourself again. 7 of them. So after we go over them all, pick one, start with that, then add another, and then another, and that is it. So let's get into it. Habit number 1 is to move the way that makes you happy, not the way that burns the most calories. When the only movement in your life is movement you're enduring or you're forcing yourself into, your body stops trusting you. Exercise becomes a tax, like something you owe yourself just for existing. The fastest way to come home to your body is to start enjoying it again. And the fastest way to do that is to stop punishing it. And here's the part that we forget when we only think about movement as a way to burn calories, that it's the least of what it actually does for you. Daily movement lowers stress hormones like cortisol and helps balance the rest of them out. It boosts serotonin and dopamine, so your mood is steadier and you feel less foggy. It helps regulate your immune system, which matters even more when you have an autoimmune condition or if you have little kids that come home from school every day with grubby little hands covered in germs. It helps you sleep much deeper, and exercising, believe it or not, gives you more energy and not less. So you don't have to train for a marathon to get any of these benefits. You just have to move your body most days. And the type of movement isn't what is important. What matters is that you find something you actually like, because that's what you're going to stick to. So hiking, swimming, dancing, cycling, weights, Pilates, yoga, it all counts. I've always felt that the key is to be consistent in the workouts, but flexible with the activity. The goal is to move most days, and what you do that day can change with your mood, the weather, or how your body feels. Okay, habit number 2, as the saying goes, is to let food be thy medicine. I don't want to get preachy here, but it is important enough to talk about, so we're going to. Heavy processed food makes you feel heavy and sluggish. On the other hand, fresh and seasoned foods makes you feel lighter and more energetic. I'll be honest, losing some weight was one of my big goals over the last year, and how I ate is what moved the needle the most. Because of my autoimmune disease, I do have some dietary restrictions, but within that, I still follow the 80-20 rule, which is basically eating well most of the time, like 80% of the time. But then you leave some room, the 20%, for real life and fun. So for me, that meant cutting out most processed food and added sugars, eating a lot more vegetables, and paying attention to whether I'm actually getting enough protein. And then cooking for myself more instead of eating out or ordering in every meal. Eating more fresh and seasoned foods is also naturally more anti-inflammatory, which matters a lot when you're dealing with any type of thyroid or autoimmune or chronic inflammation type things. And here's the part that I didn't take seriously for way too long. What you eat doesn't just affect your body. It's going to affect your mood, your energy, your focus, how well you sleep, how clearly you think. Food is the fuel for your whole system. When I'm eating mostly junk, I am foggy, I'm irritable, I crash by mid-afternoon, and everything just feels harder than it should. And when I'm eating real food, my mood is steadier, my energy holds throughout the day, and my body just works better for me. You end up feeling like yourself a lot faster when your body's not fighting everything that you're putting into it as fuel. The other thing that made a real difference is paying attention to the foods that don't agree with me and cutting those out completely. So we're all different. If you're lucky, you have no food restrictions, no allergies, and you are blessed. But for some other people, it might be dairy, it could be gluten, and some people, it's a very specific food like avocados and random things that make them feel bloated, puffy, or inflamed every time that they're eaten. So if something gives you a reaction, you don't have to keep eating it just because it's healthy. Notice what leaves you bloated or sluggish a few hours after eating it, and then pull that for a couple weeks. And you can just see how much better you feel once that's been removed from your diet. And you can decide from there if whether or not you feel it's worth it to add it back in or just keep it out of your diet completely. All right, habit number 3 is to start getting quiet with your own thoughts. When was the last time that you really just sat in silence? Most of us are so programmed to have some kind of audio stimulation going at all times. We walk with earbuds in, listening to music, a podcast, or an audiobook, or we are talking on the phone. We play music at home and in the car. We put the TV on just for background noise, which means we're almost never alone with our own thoughts anymore. And here's the thing. It's hard to know what you want or figure out what you actually need without some silence. The woman that you're trying to feel like again lives in those thoughts and can be found in that silence. You can't hear her over a constant stream of someone else's voice telling you what to think and what to do, what to want. Quiet is where you process your day, work through what's bothering you, and remember what's yours. It's also one of the simplest ways to bring your nervous system down. No input, no noise, just you. And it doesn't have to be going for a walk either. The point is the silence. So pick whatever way of getting there fits for you. For some people, it's meditation, even 5 minutes of sitting quietly and just noticing your breath. A phoneless walk, just you and your thoughts. For me, journaling is a big one, and getting what's in my head onto paper is how I figure out what I'm actually feeling. And for that, I do actually prefer to wake up early. Writing in the silence of early morning is probably the favorite part of my day, and it's also the only time of day that I have true quiet before my kids get up or the toddler that lives on the floor beneath me wakes up, because I swear that kid is an agent of chaos and he's up at 7 a.m. on the dot every day, and he does not stop until 9 p.m. Anyways, it doesn't matter which way you spend your quiet time. Any of these will work. What matters is that you give yourself regular quiet time, just you and your mind. Habit number 4 is one standing solo plan every week. When you wait on other people to make your life happen, you slowly disappear from your own calendar. A standing weekly plan that's just for you, the same time, same day, if possible, is a small, repeatable act of being the lead. It's a structural and very intentional way to make sure that your week always has at least one thing on it that is just about you. Think of it as rebuilding your identity through consistency. So try and pick one thing, put it in the calendar, make it reoccurring. Mine has changed over the years, and it's fine if yours does too. Sometimes it's Thursday lunch at my favorite restaurant, just me and whatever book it is I'm reading. At other times, it's been an evening workout class, but most recently, it's been a Sunday morning walk on the beach because I love being down there when it's overcast. So in the winter, springtime is where I definitely like to take advantage of that. The category doesn't matter. What is important is you block off a time and you stick to it, because the plans you make once and then have to remake every single week usually end up getting canceled. The plan that's just become what it is that you do on a Thursday or any random day or on a specific day stops being a plan and just starts being who you are and part of your schedule. Habit number 5 is to pick up the hobby that you abandoned. And this one is one that is just for play. Most adult women have lost their hobbies. We've been made to feel that every minute of our lives should be productive, monetizable, or in service of someone else. And so the things that we used to do just because we like them have quietly fallen out of our lives, one by one. Hobbies are how you remember who you are when you're not being useful to anyone else. Picking up something you used to love is one of the fastest ways to recognize yourself in the mirror again. Music has always been something that I loved. I believe I started with drums around the age of 10 or 11 years old. And then after that, I moved on to piano for a good amount of years. And then I bought myself a guitar a couple of years ago, but I never actually got around to learning how to play it. So teaching myself how to actually play is a recent hobby that I started this year. I also used to love portrait photography. I always had a camera with me to take pictures of my kids, my family, and my friends, but for some reason, I slowly stopped doing that. So earlier this week, I got my camera out and some of my lenses, and now I have them packed for my upcoming trip because I have decided that getting back into photography is something that is very important to me. Taking up a hobby doesn't have to be a big expense or take you away from home. Although if it does, that's awesome, because I think especially once you become a mother, it just becomes so much harder to break away and have any outside interests. But I know that if you are a single mom like myself, or your work schedule just doesn't allow it, hobbies outside of the house can be a lot harder to pull off. But if you're not sure where to start, ask yourself, what did I do for hours as a kid or in my 20s just because I loved it? Reading, knitting, painting, baking for fun and not because people need to eat, gardening, photography, playing an instrument, writing, tennis, poetry, puzzles. Pick one, just one, then start carving out 30 minutes a week at first to start working on it on the same day of the week if that makes it easier. You don't need to post about it. It doesn't need to be productive. It is just supposed to be play. It is supposed to be fun. You'll be shocked at how much of you comes back in just those 30 minutes. Habit number 6 is your daily attention reset. When you're not feeling like yourself, it's almost always because you've been moving through your life on autopilot, half present, half watching. But paying attention is how you get back into your own life. And the easiest way to do that is to make a small daily habit of noticing. This is not a gratitude practice. It's just noticing small things that are very specific, sensory, just 3 things a day that you need to write down. So here's why I believe that this is really helpful. When you know you have to come up with 3 things at the end of the day, your brain starts looking for them while the day is happening. You go from skimming your life to actually being in it. And it doesn't have to be positive things. This isn't about forcing everything to be pretty or happy. You can notice something beautiful, something that made you laugh, something that annoyed you, something that made you sad. The point isn't the feeling, it's the paying attention and being present. Noticing what made you angry tells you just as much about yourself as noticing what made you happy. And over time, you start to see your own patterns. What lights you up, what drains you, what you want more of. And that is the part that brings you back to yourself. Every night before bed, I write down 3 things I noticed that day. Not big things, just small ones. The way the light filters through my curtains in the early morning, the smell of the bakery on the corner when I walk by, even though I eat the bread, the little laugh my friend did when I told her a story. These things are small, they're specific, and they're sensory. And the more that I practice doing it, the more I walk through my day being present and paying attention to the moment. After a week or so of doing this, you will start to see life differently because you're already looking for things to notice, things that make you happy, things that make you sad, things that make you feel. And your life will start to feel fuller because you are now actually present and more aware of it. Number 7 is the compassion question. What would I do if I were the happiest, most carefree version of myself? And what can I do to move myself towards that? I feel that this is the most important habit on this list and the one I think about every single morning. Most of us make our decisions on default, out of obligation, out of fear, out of what we think we should do, from the version of us who's tired, overcommitted, and just trying to get through the day. We make a lot of our decisions on autopilot. So this question pulls you out of that. The first part asks you to imagine yourself, the happiest, most carefree version of you. And the second part, which is the part that matters, turns that picture into an actual action. What can I do today, even one small thing, to move me closer to this happy version of myself? So that is the whole playbook, the 7 habits. None of them require a coach. None of them cost more than what's already inside of your kitchen or on your block. Every single one is something you can start tomorrow morning if you choose to do so. But the thing I really want you to hear is to just pick one, just one, and start with the one that made you nod the hardest. Do it for a week, then add a new habit, then another, and then another. That's how I built this, because this is how habits stick. And that is how I came back to myself. Moving on to your weekly challenge. This is what I would love for you to do this week. Either today or tomorrow morning, ask yourself, what would the happiest, most carefree version of me do today? And what is the one small thing that I can do to move myself towards her? Then do that one thing. That's it. One question, one small action, and just see how that makes you feel. In closing, the 3 things that I would like for you to take into your week before I let you go is, number 1, feeling like yourself again isn't about becoming someone new. It's about getting back to who you've been all along. She didn't disappear. She just got quiet. And the work is making enough room in your life for her to come back. Number 2, none of this requires a 4 a.m. wake up, a stack of supplements, or a life coach. Just 7 small, repeatable habits. So pick one, start with the one that felt most doable, and do it for a week, and then add another. And number 3, ask the compass question every morning this week. What would the happiest, most carefree version of me do today? And what can I do to move towards her? The answer is almost always one small thing that's already within reach. So do that thing, then watch how your week starts to shift. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with another woman who you think would enjoy it too. And if you haven't yet, please follow the show, leave a 5-star review and a nice comment if you think it was earned, and come find me on Instagram at Monty_Wheeler. Say hi, ask any questions, or leave a comment. I always love hearing from you. Thank you for spending your Sunday with me, and I will talk to you next week. Love you.